What happens when the internet stops looking for the truth and starts looking for the trailer trash reality shows on social media? So today's going to be commentary. If you were not expecting commentary, I am going to shake it up a little bit. Sometimes we'll be like historical podcast and sometimes we'll be commentary. And I want to talk about something that's been sitting with me for a while now. But first, welcome to the show. My name is Mariana, and this is Say It to My Face, a podcast about our internet, our egos, and the idea that our modern problems are somehow different from ancient ones. They aren't. But there's no time machine today. I'm going straight up commentary, and here's your assignment. Through this short episode, I would love for you to ask yourself if I'm talking about you. I would love for you to ask yourself if you are the problem. Emotionally mature people ask themselves all the time if they are the problem. On the other hand, trashy parasites just live their lives as entitled grifters with social media channels. Social media has a very specific kind of creator on the internet, and they're not unique and they're not special, and for sure they're not original. But these are the people that use the content of other people's lives, and they lie about those lives for clicks and clouts and pats on the back. They think the pain of others is a selling point for their bank account. There's one particular content creator who's just a regular aging boomer who's having a hard time getting older. She's aged out of being cute. She's aged out of being sought after. She's aged, and I think it hurts her feelings to realize that she's not special enough to skip old age. I'm not going to bother to name this creator because she's really a dime a dozen, as most toxic grifters are. Rather, let's talk about her actions, because I guarantee that most of you know a creator just like her. And the absolute shame is that you probably see them for who they are, but others don't, and you're left looking like the odd man out when you voice your opinion. I've been there. Months ago, about a year at least, a creator started stealing the content of other mothers to spice up her YouTube channel and get paid. And she's getting paid. No doubt about that. The mothers whose content she is stealing, they didn't follow her on social media, so it was a shock to many of them in a specific niche that they were being featured and lied about in YouTube videos. So, as people do, they made rebuttal videos to the videos that lied about them. Now, the grifter creator, the one stealing the original copyrighted content, just took the rebuttal videos and made more content like the parasite that she is. The biggest issue is that this woman never does actual real journalism. She never contacts the person who made the video to see if they want to be interviewed. She never contacts them to check her facts. She never even watches enough videos to check her facts. She just makes it up as she goes along. In fact, she diagnosed me in her wannabe therapist role with her GED, her 4 marriages, her 3 kids with 3 dads. She diagnosed me as a person with NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder. This is definitely news to me and every therapist I've ever had. In tandem with her YouTube roast sessions of lies, she has a podcast where she allows people to drag their parents for hours. But here's a bigger question. Who is watching 2 hours of dragging of people you do not know? That's what this episode is really about. It's actually about you, dear reader, to quote the gossip connoisseur Lady Whistledown. If you are listening to this trash, this wannabe reality TV without actual fact-checking, then you, my dear, are also the problem. If the grifter with the mic didn't have anyone to lie to, she would not have a channel. She would like to think that she's producing episodes of Dateline like she's an actual therapist or a journalist, but she is so far from both it's laughable. But let's go back to you, dear listener. Why do you listen to her? Or other creators like her? Why do you partake in gossip and entitled judgment? That's wild, right? If you have beef with someone, go to them. Why spout off to a world who doesn't even know your name? So here's how grifters work. That was not created by them, maybe a complicated story of family estrangement or alienation. And then the grifter, with good lighting and a mic, creates an entire scenario around the stolen content. The grifter creates a fantasy land where they cosplay Frasier and Freud all rolled up into one little banana sack of shit. And you listen. So the problem is the creator, but the problem is also that your attention pays them for their bullshit. Their grift is the next episode and their next paycheck. So the grifter with the mic brings on, let's say, an estranged daughter, Kate. And the grifter never asks any hard questions. The grifter never says, well, there must have been some good times. The grifter only has enough brain power to try to squeeze that dirty laundry for more shocking revelations. And when the grifter doesn't get the shock and awe, she posts it anyways, because let's face it, the community will watch and the grifter gets paid. It's episodic, sitcom-like entertainment. And then come the receipts. Oh my God, I'm so fucking tired of, I have receipts! You don't want me to release these. Just you wait. I'm not going to share them just yet. Let's face it, guys. Everybody with a PhD and a tripod has receipts, and so do we. I have receipts. At this point, it's a comedy skit dressed up like a judge. I've watched therapists do this. Therapists with private DMs from mentally ill people threatening to expose other creators on social media. How old are we, guys? But the real problem, again, is not necessarily just the creator. It's the audience. If the audience was not hanging on every word and mentally dragging the victim of the hour under the proverbial bus, then these toxic and overly creative, read lying, creators would not continue to do what they do. When real people like you stop allowing the grift has to stop because there's no one to grift to. So how did I get to this little short commentary episode? For 9 months, at least, a creator was stealing estranged mother's content, and she was making videos where she would critique the content with her own opinion. Only her opinion, which rarely, if ever, included facts, but basically only included wild-ass made-up stories. And then she started posting these to grow her channel because she lacked the creativity to make her own content. She literally had to steal it to make a channel. The toxicity. One small example, literally one micro example. One video, this toxic creator claimed that another content creator's daughter had died of a drug overdose. And then the toxic creator proceeded to imply that the OD situation was, of course, the mother's fault. Here's the problem. The daughter didn't die of an overdose. And the toxic creator, who's a wannabe Ricky Lake, she did do a small apology, but whoever sees the apology, it's like a retraction in a newspaper buried on freaking page 20, right? No one ever sees the retraction. Very rarely do people actually see the corrected situation. And the creator actually got praised for lying in the comments. Let me slow that down for you and take that in. The creator that lied about a mother and a daughter, claiming the daughter died of an overdose, and that it was the mother's fault, was praised for her lying in the comments. Does that make sense? That's the world we live in right now. This creator was praised for lying and then apologizing for lying. Can we stop for a moment and not praise a liar? Can we instill a bit of common sense and even the smallest smattering of accountability? A person, any person, including me, needs to actually check what they are writing before they voice it. For example, this entire commentary today is based on actual videos in which I have apparently been the main character. Not apparently. I've seen them. I've watched them. I've downloaded them for proof. And this is the same toxic grifter who has stolen other content, made up wild-ass lies, and sadly, I've had to watch and download these for proof as to who this grifter is. Does that make sense? And the people in the comments are like, oh, this is what accountability looks like. Actually, guys, you know what accountability is? Accountability is making sure that the shit you put out to the world is actually true in the first place. That's accountability. Accountability is not lying and then continuing to lie about other parents. Accountability is changed behavior. This grifter hasn't actually changed any behavior. She's still out there lying about mothers, and you're still consuming her content with absolutely zero regard for the lies. As commentary, my opinions are mine alone, and yet you will not find me lying about, or hell, even talking about anyone's children, other than to point out that mom had the audacity to have 3 dads to her kids and then slam other mothers for a similar past. Are you, the gossip monger, listening to the lies about other people on social media, thinking you actually have a right to judge that person, whoever that person may be? Let me ask, does everything I've said so far sound like a description of your personality? If so, just know that you'll likely have to come back to Earth again and do this whole trip again because you do not understand the most simplest of concepts, which is, there by the grace of God go I. Anybody need that explained? No? All right, good. Let's move to video by inference. What is inference? So, the word inference is a noun, and it means a conclusion reached by reasoning from evidence or known facts rather than direct observation or proof. Example, a fact is the ground is wet. The inference is that it rained. But an inference is not a proven fact. We don't actually know it rained. Maybe your grandpa washed his truck and that's why the ground is wet. So an inference is not a proven fact. It's a conclusion drawn from by available information. And in the case of social media grifters, it's really just called bullshit gossip dressed up as content. Let's have another example. This particular grifter made a video about a woman and inferred the following. This is what she said. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not saying she's an alcoholic. I'm just saying that her eyes look like my grandmother's eyes, and my grandmother was an alcoholic. That's inference, guys. Because shady, lying-ass creators have figured out that they can't be sued for inferring stuff. So they dig down deep into the gutters of our psyche to tickle the nosy bone of women everywhere. We have a few men in the comment section who also like to act like women. But for the most part, this is women cannibalizing women. They say it without saying it. Then they, the gossiping boomers with nothing better to do, repeat the content until it becomes the thing everyone believes, without the creator ever having to defend it as fact. Because she didn't say it, she just implied it in front of 50,000 people. She wishes she had that kind of an audience. Another example. This grifter has done about 7 videos on a woman who is a teenage mom, had a bout with domestic violence, and who is a single mom for most of her kids' childhoods, and who has worked her ass off to be who she is now. The toxic grifter had the same background. Dragged the living shit out of the black female creator, making up what she didn't know. Why do I bother to bring up that she is black? Because in my commentary, the grifter making the content is racist and likes to drag people of color for living the same life she did. I also think she's jealous because the black female creator is doing a shit ton better and looks a whole lot classier than the grifter creator. Again, though, I'll go back to you, dear watcher. Why are you allowing this absolute entitled hypocrisy? Why are you watching a woman who had the same background blast another woman with the same background? What does it say about you, dear listener, that you're so lost in the sauce that you can't put 2 and 2 together and be like, wait a damn minute. Isn't that also your story? You grifter with a YouTube channel? Meanwhile, the damage is done. The DMs keep coming. The comments keep coming. The woman whose daughter never died of a drug overdose is still receiving messages about her dead daughter because someone made it up, pressed record, and the many grifters in the comments section showed up to do the dirty work. Here are the questions I want you to consider when you consume content. Where is your personal accountability when you listen to this trash? Where is your woman-to-woman empathy or parent-to-parent empathy? Here's a better question. Where's your common sense? I've kept my personal interactions with my kids off the internet for a reason, because I know that grifters with YouTube channels need my story to exist. They don't have their own content. They don't have actual input or creative ideas. They have the same old tired story that got them some attention in their 20s and 30s, and that's it. They have to live in the past because moving forward, they can't do it. So why give your story to a parasitic grifter? Why let others tear your life apart? This literally will end with someone committing the big earth exit. So how do we stop the grifter from grifting? You stop interacting. You stop listening. You stop thinking that this is real life. Real life is you taking your complaints to the person you're complaining about, or writing it in your personal journal, or writing it on paper and lighting it on fire. Real life is not telling a bunch of decades-old info that you may not even be remembering correctly to a bunch of strangers, regardless of who they are. I have stories. Hell, you have stories. We all have stories. But put yourself on that same YouTube channel 20 to 30 years from now, because you will make mistakes. And picture your picture up there while the toxic grifter makes up stories about your life and says, she doesn't give a fuck if you like her. She does. But you have the power, Obi-Wan Kenobi, to stop the pain that's being inflicted on others. So why wouldn't you? And that's the question you need to ask yourself. Why would you knowingly and purposefully inflict pain on another person through the gossip and lies on a YouTube channel? Do you strive to be a better person? Do you strive to set an example for your own kids? Do you strive to avoid the shithouse karma that's coming your way for listening to lies about people you don't know and then judging them based on those lies? Here's the biggest takeaway today. Where is the line? How low does the bar have to be before you look in the mirror and realize you are a part of this process? You'll protest for animals, you'll protest for politics, while you are listening to the bullshit grifter content about fellow mothers and fathers. You need to look in the mirror and decide if you want to be a better person. What has to happen before people realize that this grifting online is insanity? Does someone have to actually lose their job? Because people have. Does someone have to lose their mind? Because people have. Does someone have to lose their life before the content stops? People have. Rest in peace, Rizzy. Where is your personal line in the sand? What else could you be doing besides listening to the gossip of someone else's life? A life that does not affect yours and literally never will. And before we wrap today, some episodes will be commentary and some will be historical, and I'll tag each one appropriately so you can listen to the ones you want to listen to. I want to speak to the people in the comment section. I want to speak to the people who feel pride in leaving the first comment on a video that just trashed a mom. The ones who shared or reposted a video that trashed a child. The ones who take some sort of glee in half-truths and shithouse dragons. The ones who have literally nothing better to do than to actually say, "Oh, I hate life coaches," in the comment section when they are on a platform of a self-appointed life coach cosplaying a therapist who has an 8th grade education, a GED, 4 ex-husbands, 3 kids by 3 dads, and who is counting on your watch time to pay her bills. Make it make sense for me. Are you that person? Are you the one who shows up when someone points? Are you the one who shares without verifying? Are you the one who leaves the comment, sends the toxic DM, contacts someone's employer, forwards an address, or even drops the letter in the mailbox from Jacksonville, Florida? because I need you to understand something. You are as trashy as the person that you are simping for. You have a choice every single time you open an app. Every single time. You can be the person who says, "Is this true?" before you share it. You can be the person who says, "You know what? I don't actually know these people," before you comment. Or you can even be the person who scrolls or turns it off. The choice is yours, and it always has been. Next week, I hope to have 2 guest episodes, but again, I'm new to this and to scheduling people with busy lives, so it may be different. So I want to talk to you if the internet has changed your life for good or bad, and if you'd like to be a guest on a podcast. I am looking for guests now. I'm Mariana. This is Say It to My Face, where if you have something to say, you should say it to their face. I'll see you online.